Now comes the very important part of the program, the honorees. We're very excited about the work that our honorees have achieved throughout the state of New Mexico and worldwide. You'll be meeting our honorees and hearing their stories. But first I would like to introduce the President of the JCC Board of Directors, Nicole Workmeister.
All right, before we start our program, I just want to welcome everyone and thank you so much for attending this event. Your participation in this event helps provide the JCC the resources that allows us to continue to make a difference in our community. I want to again thank our sponsors, without whom this event would not have been possible. And I want to give a special thanks to all our Life and Legacy donors who are in the audience today. I see a lot of you here sitting around the tables. Your legacy gifts and pledges will help ensure the continuity of Jewish life in New Mexico for generations to come. So thank you. We are also so grateful for the continued support of the Jewish Community Foundation of New Mexico that has made some of our programming this year for older adults and for younger kids possible. So thank you to the Jewish Community Foundation. I would be remiss if I did not thank our very talented MC, John Sandberger. Not just this year's MC, but last year's MC and the year before's MC and a lot of years before MC. John and his family are not just members of the JCC, but have been such ardent supporters and such great friends of the JCC. So John and Susie and Smith, I know I've seen you here. Thank you so much for tonight. Meryl, please stand wherever you are. Meryl Manning Siegel was our chair of tonight's event. I can't imagine pulling this off without her guidance. And last, but certainly not least, I want to give a big heartfelt thanks to JCC staff. JCC staff who is here and those who are not here tonight. Your tireless efforts over the past few months, working overtime, weekends, a Sunday night. I think anyone who has ever set foot in the JCC knows that our staff is what makes our organization so, so special. So thank you so much, and I am really grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you all so closely over the past year. So now, the reason we're here tonight, on behalf of the JCC and the Board of Directors of the JCC, I want to extend our deepest, deepest thanks to our honorees for the humanitarian work that you do. We are so, so proud to have the opportunity to introduce these honorees to you tonight and to publicly recognize their tireless efforts to make not just the New Mexico community, but the world a better place in the true spirit of Tikkun Olam, which is a Hebrew expression and a fundamental tenet of Judaism that means healing or repairing the world. So without further ado, I am going to call up the Garden-Schwartzes, Art and Seth Garden-Schwartz, to introduce our first honoree.
It's not every day you get to meet a best friend. One you'll ride or die with, one who will always show up for anything, one you're always close to and is always willing to be their true, authentic self. But how do you know? You just met them. Initially, I didn't know Margie and Perry would become those kinds of friends to us. However, I distinctly remember how we met. When we moved back to Albuquerque in 2003, my wife, Kathleen, and I or really, my wife and I moved back, my wife Kathleen worked out every day at the JCC, as did Margie with the JCC's master trainer, Josh. Josh nudged Margie to ask Kat if they would share him as a trainer a day a week. Kat said yes, and that day she came home and announced, "I met a really nice person, and I need you to be his friend. I need you to be her husband's friend." That's how it started. And it has become such a treasured friendship and relationship for us ever since. They're so special in so many ways, and we want this talk is to give you a little piece of who they are. And I said, great, let's tell a quick story. I said, we'll tell that. No, can't tell that one. No, can't tell that one. So we quickly realized that if we're going to give you any representation of who Margie and Perry are, we're going to have to give you a little background about them ourselves. So let's first take a moment to talk about Perry. Unlike many people, Perry is absolutely genuine and original, so completely comfortable in his own skin that it can be initially a little startling. And this is because he always says exactly what's on his mind as he's thinking of it. It's such an endearing trait, it has earned him the nickname Perry David. And in fact, when asked to speak at his nephew's bar mitzvah, they played the theme song to Curb Your Enthusiasm as he walked out. If you want to really understand who someone is, what their character's like, who they are at their core, watch the way they care for their aging parents. Perry helped his parents relocate to Albuquerque, got them settled, supported his father when his mom passed. He was always there, making sure they both had the best care, assisting them in their last years. Perry made sure his father was always included in family events and activities that kept him engaged right up to the very end, which was just a few months ago. It's an inspiration, it should be an inspiration to us all. Margie also, like her sister, moved here, brought their family with them, and have been present in their family ever since, all the time. Family is central to their families' lives, to each and both of them. Since we're talking about Margie, we can't really even say her name without smiling. She's known for her selflessness and her kindness. She's also self-deprecating and hilarious. It's her unexpected zingers that can only come from a quiet observer of human behavior. A piece of advice: if she invites you to karaoke, say yes. Margie and Perry have each given generously of their time and talents. When the JCC's decade-old website needed an upgrade, Perry gave us the use of his wonderful team and set up a new system. Margie served on the JCC board and many committees over the years. Together, they make up a beautiful team. But when they put their focus on supporting the most vulnerable in our community, they became unstoppable. Margie devoted her time to Locker 505, volunteering for years, spending hours gathering clothes for local students and supporting their annual events. When she became a board member, she began to talk about Locker 505's lack of space for students to adequately try on clothes, take donations, and otherwise support the mission. When she became the board president, together they saw the opportunity to provide Locker 505 with a larger space that would really give them the room and opportunity to grow and support more children. Last year, they helped purchase a larger space and are now on track to serve over 4,000 students in our community. For Kat and I, Margie and Perry have become the kind of lifelong friends that makes every day fun. For our community, I just want to say that we're all truly lucky to have them here and committed to New Mexico. They're friends, they're mentors, they're mensches, and they're the kind of people who are here helping us repair our community and repair the world. I am honored to get the opportunity on behalf of my family to introduce Margie and Perry.
Well, we've been here 20 years, almost exactly, and we came from Atlanta, and we came here because of family, really. The first time I came to visit, I felt like I was at home. There was something about the mountains that kind of sucked me in, and I really felt at home. Would you like to add to that?
So we came here because my wife wanted to come here. I couldn't spell Albuquerque, didn't know where it was on a map. Only thing I knew was Bugs Bunny made a left, to the left, at Albuquerque. Albuquerque.
I got involved really because we had 2 toddlers. And I bring the kids, and so we came to the JCC all the time. And it got to be where, I'd park the car, we'd cross the street, and they would just run in. And this was their home. They would run to the playroom, and it really felt like our place. This was our place, and it's always been our place.
I got involved because my wife insisted that I get involved in the Jewish community.
Well, it's easy to get involved in the Jewish community because, it's who we are. So we obviously want to contribute, and it's doing so much for us. We want to in some way give back. And so to me, that was just natural. I got involved with Locker 505 just kind of accident. I didn't even know it existed, and a friend of mine was running one of their events, and she desperately needed an extra hand. So I went with her one day, and I learned what it was all about, and I met the director, Kim Kirshen, and it's one of those organizations that's doing such amazing good for the community. It's really easy, very easy to want to help. There's tremendous need and poverty in the Albuquerque community. And there are so many families, especially now after COVID, that were doing really well, but maybe they lost their job, or maybe they're still working, but with inflation, they simply don't have enough to pay the rent and give their children clothes. We're serving 4 counties right now, and we're serving double the number of children that we have in years because there's just such a need here.
I feel that Locker 505 is a really good organization and really well needed. And when you see the children, rush in and get so excited to go shopping, it's really worth everything.
As far as what's, I would say, near and dear to our hearts, it's really the JCC. It's the bedrock of the community, really, I think. It's where everybody can come and everybody can feel welcome. I think one of the reasons that we got so involved here is because the fact that it's such a small community, it really is important for every person to contribute. If you want things to continue to thrive, you have to be a part of it. You have to step in and do your piece. So I feel that way about the Jewish community, but I also feel that way about Locker 505. I mean, we can't just sit back in Albuquerque and wonder who's going to help these people. We all have to be part of it. One thing that I'm really proud of is that up until this year, we were located in a place that was really hard to find. It was not much bigger than the size of this library we're in right now. We felt like we could serve more children, we could be more apparent in the community if we were in a better location, and as much as he says he doesn't do very much, when I mentioned that we really needed a new location, he jumped in.
So actually what happened was I was getting annoyed that Locker 505 couldn't find a new place to rent. But they had requirements. They needed dressing rooms, and they wanted it to be like a store. So I was running around with a realtor and constantly looking at things online, just trying to help them find a place to rent. And then one day, my realtor said, "Hey, I know you're looking at renting, but Avenue Clothing, which was right across from Dick's Sporting Goods on Manal, is up for sale." And it really was perfect, really set up for a clothing store. So in the end, it made sense to purchase the building and work with Locker 505 to let them lease from us.
And it's triple what we had before. It's right on Manal. It's right across from the mall. Because we have the space, it really is set up like a department store. So when the kids come in, you know, I don't know what they're expecting, but they get to walk in and look for clothes like they're at a store. And there's even dressing rooms. They can go in and shut the door, and then they come out and the little girls are twirling in the mirror with their dresses, and it's precious, but it's also, you realize, I mean, we have children who come in and they are so excited to get a new pair of shoes because they've had to share their shoes with their brother. We've had kids we actually had a little girl who had never owned a pair of underwear. I mean, it's the need is tremendous, and it's also astounding. But that being said, I would say Albuquerque, the community, is also astounding because for how small we are, the generosity is really amazing. Pretty much everything in that building has been donated. And so when I look at the store and what this community has given to these children, there's also that piece of optimism there. On a day-to-day basis, I'm probably more involved, but when he sees a need and he knows he can help, he jumps right in and takes the reins. Perry and I are very honored that we were nominated for this award. We know it is a major honor, and we appreciate that the community is recognizing us and what we're doing, that somebody felt like we had done that much for the world.
To present the Harold Albert Award is none other than Harold Albert. And I could take the next half hour introducing him. I think the most effective way that I can introduce Harold Albert is that he is the George Washington of the JCC. The father of the JCC, whose tireless efforts, coercion, sweet-talking, extortion helped this come together. To present the award, Harold.
I have to start by telling you that the nominating committee since 2000 have always gotten it right. The honorees tonight and the honorees that are recipients of this award are exactly the people that deserve to be honored. I'd encourage everyone to take a look in their program and see all of the past honorees, the Jewish members of the community, the non-Jewish members of the community. I have been so blessed that this is, I think, the 24th time that I've been in a position to receive or distribute this particular award. And all of the people that I've been associated with in the past are true members and leaders of the community. Now, in a couple of weeks almost, we're going to have our Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year. I think it's the year 5784, if I remember correctly. And a lot of people ask about how did the Jews survive from all these years on the Jewish calendar? And the truth of the matter is we have an expression, it's called Lador Vador. Many of you know it. It's from generation to generation. We teach our children and the next generation how to become leaders of our community. And this is absolutely no exception, that Perry and Margie are the future leaders of our community, and we are proud to be able to pass on, and from my generation to the next generation, and hopefully to the future generations, to make sure that our JCC will be here for many, many years to come. Without further ado, let me read to you the award that we're presenting to Marjorie and Perry this evening. It reads, Harold B. Allen, that's me. Community Service Award, Margie and Perry Pimzo, 2023, in recognition of your lifetime commitment to the Jewish community. May your good work and vision serve as an example to others. Awarded by the Jewish Community Center of Greater Albuquerque. Congratulations.
All right, well, that's a tough one to follow, but I'll do my best. So good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Stordahl, Vice President of Nusenda Credit Union Business Services. And on behalf of Nusenda and our 700 plus employees, we're extremely proud to be part of this evening's event. Like tonight's honorees, Nusenda believes in the philosophy of people helping people. Our team strives to make the communities of New Mexico better places to live and work. Every year, we have a direct impact on the social and economic health of our community as we work to build an exciting future for generations to come. We prioritize financial well-being, our members by going above and beyond and providing them with affordable products, friendly service, and financial education. Tonight gives us an opportunity to recognize the spirit of generosity and the value of looking out for one another. We are proud to be part of the celebration of people across our state who stepped up and dedicated their life's work to help others. I'm grateful to have the privilege of introducing one of tonight's distinguished honorees, Diana Trehecke. Diana has dedicated 38 years of her life to helping children of New Mexico and their families deal with day-to-day needs of living with and battling cancer. Diana's journey began in 1984 when her son Aaron was diagnosed with cancer. His wish was not just for support for himself, but for all the children facing the same challenges. This inspired Diana to establish the Aaron Trehecke Memorial Golf Tournament, a fundraising event benefiting the Children's Cancer Fund of New Mexico. Since its inception, the tournament has raised over $10 million, transforming the lives of countless young cancer patients. In 1999, Diana's compassion and vision led to the creation of a college scholarship program, offering opportunities to teens who have undergone treatment at the program. Thanks to her leadership, this initiative provides over $180,000 each year, offering hope and a brighter future to survivors. Diana's impact goes beyond fundraising. She has also spearheaded the construction and implementation of Aaron's Place, a hospice facility at the UNM campus that provides comfort and care to children facing their end of life. Today, we are grateful to honor Diana's legacy and celebrate her compassion and support for New Mexicans. Thank you, Diana.
My name is Diana Trehecke, and I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Cancer Fund of New Mexico. Children's Cancer Fund started in 1972. We celebrated our 50th anniversary last year. I have been involved with the organization since 1984, when my son, my only child, was diagnosed with cancer. During the time that he was in the hospital and getting treatments, he would get a prize after it was done. It was a $2 check, and he would go out and spend it and enjoy it. And I found out that that money came from the Children's Cancer Fund. He lived 1 year and 1 week from his diagnosis. He died in 1985. So my passion for the organization is for him. I do it for him, and I do it because of him. When we were in the hospital, we were fortunate to have family and friends. You know, he would just think of something and somebody was there to bring it to us, but that wasn't the case with a lot of families that were in the hospital. UNM and Presbyterian are the only pediatric oncology facilities in the state. So if a child has cancer, the family has to travel from all parts of the state at great expense. So whenever he would get something, he would always say, "Oh, can you bring one for him next door? Or can you bring one for her next door?" Because he knew that they didn't get the same kind of things he did. He was a junior golfer, had participated in Junior World golf tournaments in June of that same year. People asked us if they could have a golf tournament to benefit our family and help us through his treatment. And we checked with Aaron and he said, "I will only do it if it's for all the kids." So what I do is what his wish was, and that was so all the kids could be helped. Every year, there's 50 or 60 kids in New Mexico that are diagnosed with cancer. This year so far, and it's first part of March, we've already had 50 new diagnoses. Children's Cancer Fund helps totally along the way. Any amount of things. The thing I am the most proud of, well, I'm proud of everything we're able to do, and I'm happy to be able to do it, is our scholarship program. Every child who is diagnosed and treated for cancer in New Mexico is eligible to receive a scholarship. 8 semesters of undergraduate school and 4 semesters of graduate school. It is one of the things when a child is first diagnosed that we talk about, and it is the hopeful thing. My child is 6 years old. We had a 6-year-old and now she's graduated from college on our scholarship program. We have 28 kids right now that are each receiving $5,000 a semester. We have doctors, we have nurses. I'm just really proud of that we're able to do that, and the Children's Cancer Fund really helps kids realize their dream after they have been through so much. Every month we see at least 100 different children. Cancer protocols last sometimes a year, sometimes 3 years, sometimes 5 years, and then they come back for well checks. There is a survivorship program, so we see lots and lots of different kids every single week, every month. And in a year, too many to count, unfortunately. I am really humbled by receiving this award, and it shouldn't go to me. It should go to, I think, Aaron for his selflessness and his generosity. I could not do this without the amazing board of directors and the donors of the Children's Cancer Fund, the most generous donors ever, anywhere.
This is such an important night because all of us in the last few years and maybe even in the last few days have had those moments when we have wondered about what it means to be a humanitarian and to have heard all of the stories that we have heard so far and those that we will hear is an important reminder that each of us is so lucky that we don't have a choice but to try to make the most of our own humanity. My name is Roberta Cooper Ramo, and it is my deep honor to present the award on behalf of the JCC to Dr. Sanjeev Arora. Those of us that grew up here and those of us who've lived here for a while step outside often and see the sunset and the mountains, and we wonder, what can we do as human beings lucky enough to live here that is equal to what Mother Nature has given us? And most of us try to do the best we can to be good people. But it's the rare person among us who is able to actually live up in scale, scope, purpose, and impact to what we see in the vastness of the skies and the beauty of the New Mexico sunset. I first heard about Dr. Aurora when my husband, Dr. Barry Ramo, Channel 7 News, came home one day and said, I just met the first New Mexican who's going to win the Nobel Prize. And I said, sure. And he then explained to me about Project Echo. What is so deeply important and so human at the highest level about Project Echo and about Sanjeev Arora's idea is the idea that if you have special skills and wonderful knowledge that can heal people, teach people, change entire communities by learning from the experts in whatever area it is, then it is your human obligation to make sure that's possible. Easily said, not easily done. In the days of Zoom, it seems a little easier, but when Dr. Aurora started out with the idea that he would take the very best medical knowledge from gastroenterology at the University of New Mexico and make sure that everybody in New Mexico who provided health care in tiny towns all over the state had a chance to learn from the experts. He had to deal with satellites, figuring out how you got people together, how you got the experts to agree to come week after week to answer the questions of a whole variety of people. Sometimes they were doctors, and in some little towns, they were nurse practitioners, and occasionally even medical technicians who just happened to be in this little tiny town in New Mexico where somebody had a dread disease and didn't know how to treat it and couldn't come all the way to Albuquerque every time for their treatment. But he didn't just stop with health care. As he thought about it, he decided there are a lot of people who need to be helped in the world of education. And so all over the world now, there are Project Echoes that not only help healthcare providers and put them with experts, but in every area of education have helped universities teach the expert way to teach children from kindergarten through high school in India, in Africa, all over Wyoming, for example, in virtually every state. He has got people to understand so much that there are echo hubs now at the University of Chicago, at Harvard, at the University of Oregon. I could go on all night. This is one person with not just a brilliant idea, but the ability to convince others to actually carry on in the highest possible way. Dr. Sanjeev Arora has touched millions of people. He has responded to emergencies. For example, when COVID struck, he was able to put together an echo that trained 500 doctors overnight in South America in how to deal with COVID. When we've had particular problems with crime in Albuquerque, he put together experts to train all sorts of people who work all over the city of Albuquerque the best way to deal with these things. If there is a need and there is expertise, Project Echo somehow finds the way to train everyone. Dr. Sanjeev Arora, your work is as vast as the mountains. Your good is as beautiful as a New Mexico sunrise. Dr. Arora.
Yeah, my name is Sanjeev Arora, and I'm a gastroenterologist by profession, and I serve as the director of the Echo Institute at the University of New Mexico, where I'm also a professor there. I've been here in New Mexico since 1993, so going on 30 years. I've adopted New Mexico as my home and just absolutely love it here. In 2002, I saw a young woman. She was 43 years old in my clinic, and there were 2 children along with her. There was a 14-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl. And I asked her, how can I help you? And she said, I have hepatitis C and I want treatment. I've had it for 8 years. So I said, why did you not come earlier for treatment if you've known about it for 8 years? And she said, I live 200 miles away and I'd called your nurse. And she said, there was an 8-month wait to see you and I would have to drive 200 miles each way, making 12 trips to get the treatment. So she decided not to. So I asked her, what changed for you? What made you come today? And she said, I'm having pain here in the right side of my abdomen. And I did a test, found that she had a cancer of the liver now due to hepatitis C. And she passed away 6 months later, leaving these 2 children. And I was asking myself, why did she die from a disease that I knew how to treat and the medicines were available? And the answer was, she died because the right knowledge didn't exist at the right place at the right time, and she didn't have the ability to get to the right knowledge. The larger challenge I was facing in New Mexico was that there were 28,000 patients with this disease, hepatitis C, and only 1,500 had been treated. So I asked myself, how should we get this treatment to everyone in New Mexico? So I developed ECHO model with the specific idea that I wanted to get hepatitis C treatment to everyone in New Mexico. I have to upskill other people to be as good as me to do this, because it's been considered a specialty disease and it shouldn't be, because too many people in the United States have it. So I went around the state of New Mexico and set up 21 new treatment sites in primary care settings, in rural clinics, and a few in the prisons. And what I really asked myself was, how could I democratize my expertise? Because there weren't enough access to this expertise, and I came up with the ECHO model. And the ECHO model was based on, first I would use technology to leverage expertise. The second idea was, I would go and teach these doctors and nurse practitioners and physician assistants on how to treat hepatitis C. We call this principle sharing best practices, but when I tried that, they said, no, this is too dangerous, this is chemotherapy, we can't do that. So that brought me to the third principle of ECHO, called case-based learning. Here the issue was, how did I become an expert in treating hepatitis C? I was not born that way. And when I did my fellowship in Boston, I would see a patient present to my professor, I would see another one present to my professor, and after 2 years they started calling me a gastroenterologist. So I said, aha, I'm going to use this model to create new hepatitis C experts so that everybody could get access to treatment. And then I would use the internet to monitor the outcomes of these patients. And once a week I would meet with them, we would discuss their cases. It looked like Hollywood squares. In a year they became great experts. The wait in my clinic fell from 8 months to 2 weeks, and anybody in New Mexico could get treatment for hepatitis C within 2 weeks of wanting to get that treatment. An interesting thing we found was ECHO was producing communities of practice, joy of work for them, enhancing their self-efficacy, reducing their self-isolation. But really the most important thing we found was that these rural doctors could get the same outcomes as us. That means they could treat hepatitis C as safely and effectively as university specialists. That was a game changer, because this paper got published in the leading medical journal in the world called the New England Journal of Medicine. There was worldwide interest in replicating the ECHO model. So we developed a technology-based platform that we could give away to anyone in the world who wanted to replicate Project ECHO. Once we did that, almost all the major universities in the United States started using the ECHO model to help patients to meet their own mission, to democratize their expertise, produce more equity. So the fundamental idea of ECHO is to reduce inequality so that everybody has access to the right knowledge at the right place at the right time, so they can get the right care. And now ECHO has spread all over the world. We have expert institutions which we call hubs in 63 countries. Many of them are ministries of health, many of them are large academic centers like the University of New Mexico, many of them are large not-for-profits. But really the underlying mission of ECHO is to produce equity. And we have 4.1 million learning attendances from 193 countries. Education is a big focus area. The Jewish Community Center has education of children as a big focus. And one of the challenges we are facing in New Mexico is less than 25% of our children can read at the 3rd grade level. So we have made a major thrust on upskilling school teachers all across the state of New Mexico using the ECHO model to become more effective teachers, whether it be early childhood education or literacy, math and science education, school leadership training, social and emotional learning for school teachers, and many, many others. By the end of this year, we'll have about 27 separate networks working just to improve educational outcomes for New Mexican children. And so it is now expanding to different parts of the world, and I'm really truly honored to receive this award from the Jewish Community Center. It is such a wonderful inspiration to see how your center spends so much energy, so many resources, and provides so much opportunity for children, adults in this community, and how you emphasize how we as a collective community can bring our resources together to help uplift our whole community, whether it be, in your case, the education, in our case, the health and education of our children, of our adults. Fundamentally, the mission of ECHO is very much aligned with the mission of the Jewish Community Center, in that we want to spend our energy in making the world better, bringing more equitable outcomes, and truly building agency at the front line. So these local communities can help themselves achieve better outcomes for their citizens, for their children, of course, most important.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Fred Nathan, and I'm delighted to have the privilege of introducing one of tonight's distinguished honorees, Clara Apodaca. I've known Clara for many years, and we've worked closely together for the past 15 years at Think New Mexico, where Clara and I served together on the board. And I thought I knew everything about Clara's accomplishments until I looked at the program tonight, and just reading that, I didn't know half that stuff, Clara, and so many mitzvahs. And the thing that's remarkable is not only how much she's accomplished, but when you consider that she's done it in just 39 years. And I'm looking forward to the next 39 years, Clara, and what you might accomplish then. And the program does an excellent job of summarizing her past accomplishments. But what I want you to know about is that Clara is still a force for political good in our state. It seems every year at Think New Mexico we're working on a different issue, whether it's repealing the food tax or trying to end predatory lending, and there's always some key legislator that's standing in the way. And when that happens, I call Clara. And the conversation goes like this. I say, Clara, do you know legislator X? And invariably the response is, oh yes, he's a very good friend. And not only do I know legislator X, I know his parents, and I know his grandparents. And do you need help lobbying him? And of course I say, yes, please. And so a day later, it's always the same pattern. We go to see this legislator, and first there's a lot of kissing and hugging, and then Clara methodically goes through the legislator's entire family and asks about all of them. And then she says, you know, honestly, I'm not here for social reasons, but I'm here on business. And I just want to ask for your support on this bill. And, you know, it's almost comical, because the day before, the legislator's telling me this is a bridge too far. And then when he hears it from Clara, he sees the wisdom in that policy. It's really magical, actually. And if you know the Apodaca family, they're all great leaders and athletes. And like so many great athletes, they make people better around them. And that's what Clara does, is she makes these people, all of us, better people, wiser, more caring. And so I just really appreciate having this opportunity, Clara, to thank you in public for all the good work that you do behind the scenes in private that make this a better state.
Clara Apodaca, former First Lady of New Mexico and patron of the arts. You know, for so many years I've always thought that the culture and the arts of New Mexico should be available and accessible to everybody, not just a few. But it took me many years to get there to make that happen. I was born in a very small community in the southern part of New Mexico, in Doniana. It was a farming community. My mother was an educator and my father was a farmer. And she, in her very humble way, introduced us to the arts. And she would always say, you know, get involved in the community and give back to your community. And so I did that. At the age of 10, we moved to Las Cruces, and then she introduced us into music. My sister and I took piano lessons, and then clarinet, and then the violin. So she was advanced in her thinking. So when I was campaigning all over the state, I realized what great artists we had all over the state, what wonderful people from the southeast, from northern New Mexico. I got more interested in having people showcase those artists. So when my husband became governor, that was my major interest, was the arts. And I thought I want to promote that. So the inauguration was January the 1st, 1975. After the inauguration, I got the idea that we would have a governor's art gallery in the space on the governor's reception area in the 4th floor of the Capitol. Well, everybody said I couldn't do it. But I even got a bad editorial because I spent $1,500 of state money to do the track lighting. I knew that we had to start with a splash, and I knew we had to get some attention for the opening of the gallery. So I asked Georgia O'Keeffe to be our first artist. I had the governor call her. She agreed to do so. So she came in and she actually curated, along with Alexandra Girard, the exhibit of 12 of her original paintings. And we opened on a Sunday afternoon. She stood in line for 2 hours receiving people, greeting people. We had that exhibit for 6 weeks. But then after that, we had every 4 weeks we would change artists. And we had all New Mexico artists. We featured the artists and we would have a reception. We had school children that came in from New Mexico. We had state employees, but we had great artists. You know, Maria Martinez, the Joseph Longwood family. After Georgia O'Keeffe, it was R.C. Gorman, Ford Ruthling. So for 4 years, that was mainly my focus, was on that gallery. We also had the brown bag concerts in the Rotunda. People could bring their lunch at noon, and we started out about once a month, but it got so popular that we had it almost every other week. And we had from bluegrass to opera, from jazz to mariachis, musical theater. We had every kind of musical thing we could have. So the school children, people would bring school children and they would sit and they would be in the opera. My involvement in the arts has always been such an interest of mine that when I moved to Washington, D.C., I became involved in the local community in the arts in Washington, D.C. When I left the Clinton administration, the mayor appointed me to be a commissioner for the arts and humanities. We would get funding from the federal government and we would fund all the arts and all the theaters in the district. So that was a great interest. 15 years ago, I returned from Washington after being there 18 years, and then I got involved with the National Hispanic Cultural Center. I had been involved before helping them raise money, but I had never taken over the foundation. So I came back and became the president and CEO of the foundation. I was on the National Advisory Board for the Cultural Center 7 years and then retired from there. So my interest in the arts has been from Santa Fe to Washington, D.C. to Albuquerque. And I'm still involved with the arts. I still serve on several boards, one of them being the Opera Southwest, which I'm very proud of, and celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. I still feel my biggest accomplishment has been my 5 children and 10 grandchildren. But I want to take this time to thank the Jewish Community Center. It's a most prestigious organization I can imagine, and I'm so humbled and honored to receive the Humanitarian Award from the JCC, because that has been a wonderful organization for so many years, and it's such a pleasure. I want to thank Ambassador Ed Romero and Harold Albert for nominating me. It means a lot to me that you took the interest to name someone like myself that started such humble beginnings for this great honor. And I accept it on behalf of my extended friends and family that are here with me tonight, because you know, you don't accomplish anything by yourself. You always have to have some help. And believe me when I say it takes a village to accomplish anything, and that's what I want to leave you with tonight. It takes a village.